Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett all have something you don't. And no, it's not $1 billion. It's the same 24 hours you have, the exact same amount of time ticking away right now. So why does it feel like they're playing a completely different game? Here's what took me way too long to figure out. Wealthy people don't actually think about money the way most of us do. They don't see it as something to collect. They see it as something to trade. And the thing they're trading it for? Time. Let me explain what I mean. Most of us grow up with a pretty straightforward relationship with money. We trade our time for it. You work 40 hours, you get a paycheck. More hours, more money. Fewer hours, less money. It's a one-way transaction. Time goes in, money comes out. But somewhere along the way, usually after building some wealth, people flip that equation. They start asking a different question. Instead of, how can I trade my time for money? They ask, how can I trade my money for time? And that single shift changes everything. Think about it this way. You can always make more money. Seriously. Whether you're 22 or 62, there are ways to earn another dollar. You could work overtime, start a side hustle, ask for a raise, sell stuff you don't need. Money is renewable. But time? Time is the only resource on the planet that you cannot manufacture, borrow, or buy more of. Once this hour is gone, it's gone. You're not getting it back. Neither is Jeff Bezos, by the way. That's the great equalizer. So when wealthy people spend money on things that seem extravagant, like personal assistants, meal delivery services, housekeepers, or flying instead of driving, they're not being lazy. They're making a calculated trade. They're exchanging a renewable resource for a non-renewable one. And here's where it gets interesting for the rest of us. You don't need to be rich to start thinking this way. You just need to do some math that most people never bother to do. Let's say you make $60,000 a year. If you work about 2,000 hours annually, that breaks down to roughly $30 an hour. That's your real hourly rate. Now, every time you spend your own time doing something, you're essentially paying yourself that rate to do it. So when you spend 3 hours every weekend mowing your lawn, you're paying yourself $90 to mow. If the neighbor's kid would do it for $40, you're actually losing $50 worth of time. You're paying more to do it yourself. I know. This feels weird at first. But I'm not actually losing money, you might say. I'm just doing the work myself. Here's the thing, though. That time has value, real value. Those 3 hours could be spent resting so you perform better at work. They could be spent with your kids. They could be spent building a side business, learning a skill, or literally anything else that either makes you money or makes your life better. Rich people get this intuitively. The rest of us have to learn it. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not saying you should outsource everything in your life. Some people genuinely love mowing their lawn. It's meditation for them. Great. That's time well spent because it's restoring you. The key question isn't, can I pay someone to do this? It's, what's the best use of this hour of my life? Let me give you a more relatable example. Say you're deciding between two apartments. One costs $1,200 a month but has a 45-minute commute to work. The other costs $1,500 but is a 10-minute walk from your office. Most people look at this and see $300 a month in extra rent. 12 months times $300 equals $3,600 a year. That's a lot of money. But let's look at the time math. The longer commute costs you an extra 70 minutes per day, round trip. That's roughly 23 hours a month, about 276 hours a year. At your $30 hourly rate, that commute is costing you $8,280 in time value every single year. Suddenly, paying an extra $3,600 to live closer looks like a bargain. You're actually coming out ahead by $4,600. Plus, you're getting back 276 hours of your life. That's over 11 full days, every year. This is how wealthy people make decisions. They don't just look at the price tag, they look at the total cost, including time. And it goes way beyond housing. Think about cooking versus ordering food, cleaning versus hiring help, doing your own taxes versus paying an accountant, flying versus driving. Each of these is a time-money trade-off that most people never actually calculate. I spent years driving 6 hours to visit family instead of flying because the flight cost $200 and driving was free. But when I finally did the math, I realized I was valuing my time at about $16 an hour, less than minimum wage in some states. I was essentially paying myself poverty wages to sit in traffic. Now, here's an important caveat. This math only works if you actually use the time you buy back productively, or at least intentionally. If you pay someone $40 to clean your house and then spend those 2 hours scrolling your phone, you haven't really gained anything. You've just transferred the work. The magic happens when you use bought time for something that either generates more money, builds skills, deepens relationships, or genuinely restores your energy. This is why wealthy people are so protective of their time. They know that every hour has potential. An hour can be worth $30 or $300 or $3,000, depending on how you use it. So they guard it fiercely. They say no to meetings that could be emails. They hire people to handle tasks outside their zone of genius. They pay premiums for convenience, not because they're spoiled, but because they've done the math. Here's something else I wish someone had told me earlier. Buying time isn't just about money. It's about energy. Some tasks drain you completely. For me, it's dealing with anything car-related. I would rather pay $150 for a mobile mechanic to come change my oil than spend my Saturday at the auto shop, even if the shop only charges $40. Because the mental energy I save is worth more than the dollar difference. Rich people optimize for energy just as much as time. They ask not just, how long will this take, but how will this make me feel? There's actually a study from Harvard that found people who spent money on time-saving purchases reported greater life satisfaction than those who spent the same amount on material things. Buying time literally makes you happier than buying stuff. So, what does this actually look like in practice? Start by calculating your real hourly rate. Take your annual income and divide it by the hours you actually work. Be honest here. Include overtime, work you do at home, commute time if you want to get really accurate. That number is your baseline. Then, the next time you're about to spend hours on a task you dislike, ask yourself, would I pay someone my hourly rate to do this? If a housekeeper charges $25 an hour and your time is worth $40, that's a trade worth making. You're essentially making $15 an hour by not cleaning. Start small. Maybe it's grocery delivery for an extra $10 fee. Maybe it's paying a little more for the direct flight instead of the layover that saves you 3 hours. Maybe it's finally hiring someone to do your yard work. You don't have to outsource your entire life, just the parts that drain you and could be done by someone else. And here's the final piece. As you build wealth, keep raising the bar. What you outsource at $30,000 a year will look different from what you outsource at $70,000. The principle stays the same. You're constantly asking, is this the highest and best use of my time? Because here's the truth that wealthy people understand and the rest of us often miss. You're not saving money when you do everything yourself. You're spending time. And time is the one thing you can never earn back. Money can always be made again. Time can't. So maybe the question isn't how to make more money. Maybe it's how to stop spending so much time. If this gave you a new way to think about your money and your hours, hit subscribe to Like Your 5. We break down one financial concept every week in a way that actually sticks. No jargon, no judgment. Just clarity. See you in the next one.